Continuation from the previous video, and if you've not seen the previous one, you probably want to watch it before you watch this one so that you understand how we got to this point. Okay, so I have gone now to Outlook. You all have an Outlook calendar in your student email, and I can now keep up with, I can now schedule all of these on my computer so that I now have them on my calendar. So at the beginning of every week, I can go in, I can look at my week, I can know what I have to do, I can plan it around everything else I have to do, because you see I got all this other stuff already on here. In fact, let me just move this off, right? So I have all this other stuff already on my calendar. So now I can plan around my week. I am not an organized person. I'm an artist just like you guys are. My brain goes, you know, some people, most people, they think in a linear progression. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? They think in order. They think linearly. I don't do that, and I'm guessing you don't do that. I go A, F, Z, G, K, B, L, C, D, right? So all over the place. I'm not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm 1, 9, 12, 15, 647, 648, 649, 3, right? So that's how my brain is structured. And what it is I follow a different line of thinking than an organized person does. And so Outlook saves me, because I would never meet a deadline a day in my life if it was not for electronic organization. And if we ever have to go back to counting on our fingers and toes, I'm not going to meet deadlines. All right. And as I've said many times, you have got to meet those deadlines. And the reason faculty don't take late work is because if we tell you, you can get it in whenever you feel like it, your unconscious brain is not going to take deadline seriously. You're going to be like, oh, okay, right? I can turn it in whenever. And then you're going to go out in the industry and you're going to miss a deadline. You're going to think, oh, the client's going to be understanding because Miss Dolby was understanding. And I know she's very understanding. And then you're going to get there and the client's going to be like, what? Now I missed my deadline. And I've seen it, a lot. And so it's really, really important to just go ahead and get it in your brain and get used to working so that your unconscious brain understands deadlines are not negotiable. Now, it doesn't mean that they don't ever change, but you're not the one changing them. The client is, okay? So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go now into my calendar, and I know that classes start here on the 17th, and I had marked that off on my calendar. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started on the first day of class. And I'm going to double click on that day, and I'm going to type in first day of semester, and I'm going to schedule a time. Let's go ahead and say I'm going to schedule 9 to a 3-hour window. Now you can break this up however you want. If you want to work on one class for an hour, another class for an hour, another class for an hour, break it into chunks, and you work better that way, then do that. Do what works best for you. What matters always is the end result. How you get there, you have to figure out what works best for you. So I'm just going to, because we talked about this, right? I'm going to schedule a 3.5-hour chunk here. I'm going to give myself that amount of time. And it may sound like a lot of time until you start working, and then it's going to fly by. Okay? And then I can give myself a reminder. I can tell myself where I'm going to go, right? Reminders right here. And then I'm going to talk about what I'm going to do. And I'm going to come back to my, there you go, my list, and I'm going to copy this in here and paste it right there. And that's it. That's what I'm going to get done in that chunk of time on that day. Save. And there it is right there on my calendar. Now, you may want to call it something else. I realize I just called it that, but and the first day of class, you probably actually should review the syllabus, review the course shells, make sure you understand everything that's there, get familiar with the course. You should actually do that the first day. And then you can schedule this, get started the second day. And I pick my days, and I work around what I have, and I just use what we've created in our previous document, and it keeps wanting to bring that one up because I keep not closing the other one, and I just copy those into my, and so I know, and now I have a game plan. And yes, in the beginning, this is going to seem like you're doing more work. The truth of the matter is you're not. And here's what I promised to tell you in the last video, in this video. Your brain gets overwhelmed if it thinks it has 26 hours worth of work to do. Okay? I'm going to equate it to this. There's a pile of bricks on one end of the hall, and there's 200 bricks. Let's say 260 bricks. And you've got to move those 260 bricks to the other end of the hall. And everybody automatically thinks, how am I going to move 260 bricks? I can't lift that. That's heavy. And they get overwhelmed, and they sit down and they do nothing, and they procrastinate. And actually, you end up making your life more stressful that way. You end up putting it off. You beat yourself up unconsciously, whether you realize you do or not. And the bricks don't get moved. And then you go to the professor after the bricks haven't been moved and the deadline's been met, and you've been like, I had a family emergency. The instructor's like, okay, sure. Too late. And you're like, well, what am I going to do? And now you got a 0. And nobody wants a 0. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to say I can pick up 2 bricks at a time. Let's say 6. Pick up 6 bricks at a time. You're going to go pick up 6 bricks, and you're going to carry them down to the other end of the hall on day 1. In that first hour. Second hour, I'm going to do 6 more. Third hour, 6 more. Fourth hour, 6 more. Fifth hour, 6 more, right? However, we've broken this up. And you're gonna chunk it. You're gonna break it into manageable chunks. You're gonna move those bricks to the end of the hall by the end of the week because 1, you got started. 2, you broke it down into manageable, unoverwhelming chunks. Because I don't think anybody freaked out when I said you got to move 6 bricks down the hall. 6 bricks, that's no big deal. And that's what this is. And this is what we have done. And this is an investment in yourself and in your future. Because as soon as you can master this, this is yours for life. Nobody taught me this. I had to learn it the hard way. I still remember how horrible it was. I went from people telling me, be here at this time, to people saying, okay, now this is due, figure it out. Okay, great. This is how you do it. It's a small investment in time in yourself to be able to figure this out. And now, once you have this skill set, you'll be able to apply it to any aspect of your life. And this, by the way, that I highlighted right here, let me just highlight. Ooh, not that color. Well, okay. Oh, I guess I got to do it a second time. There we go. That right there is algebra. Okay? That's algebra. That's all that is, right? I figured out how much time I needed to spend each day by plugging in all my variables up here with real numbers and not X's, Y's, and Z's. And just doing the math. Just working the math. Now, this is not always going to be, exactly the amount of time. Some days I'm working 4 hours. Other days I'm working an hour and a half. It just happens, right? It's the way it works. But this guarantees that I invest the time needed to do a good job on my assignment, into myself. I meet my deadline. I no longer am overwhelmed every day because I have all this work to do that I haven't even gotten started on. I've started it. I've gotten something done every day. And that in and of itself makes you feel good because you've accomplished something. No matter how small, when you accomplish something, you feel good about it. If you're the kind of person who likes rewards, and trust me, that's why we all get addicted to cell phone video games. They give you all this beautiful, colorful, great job, good job, here's a bonus for doing this. It's just human nature, it's human brain. There's nothing wrong with any of you if you are reward oriented. And some of us are more than others. Give yourself a reward. And it doesn't have to be, anything expensive or frivolous. It can just be, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes tomorrow to sleep late, or I'm gonna have dessert, or just, everybody, it's a different thing, right? So give yourself some extra little treat as a way of meeting that goal, only if you met the goal. Okay? You can only do it if you meet the goal. If you don't meet the goal, don't beat yourself up. We're not going to do that, but you're going to have to make up that time as soon as possible. Because you know what happens. You miss one deadline, then you miss the others, and they start to get out of control. Okay? So this is the process for managing your projects. Start with your first project, do this. And then come back and, time yourself, and then come back and make a little note of how long it really took me to do this. So the next time you know. And eventually your unconscious brain will learn how to read this and know automatically how long it takes to do things. You'll get much better at estimating, and that will come in handy when you have to when you start charging people for your work and they say, how much do you want? And you go, you got to figure out how much time you're going to invest so you know how much money to charge. And that's what this is. Okay. So we will continue in the next video and wrap it up from there.